Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today. I've got a lot of people who we've not had together on one platform at the same time in a long time. And given all that we are experiencing at this time, I thought it was just a blessing to be able to welcome back to the show Dwight McKee. Many of you have been wondering, where's Dwight? How's he doing? Well, he's been recuperating, and I'm so grateful that he is with us today. And of course, Dr. David Gibbs, hey, he's appearing on screen. I can't believe it. It's good to see you. And attorney Mark Fancher. We're talking about the state of the United States, the state of the world. Uh, these men took some stances over the past several years that I've been on this particular iteration of my show that have been fairly unpopular, or certainly a lot of people express a lot of reservations with your views on the Ukraine, where Gaza was going. President Trump, could he come back? Would he come back? How would he come back? Would he stay away if he didn't win in 2020? Well, everything that you said, much to the consternation of many people in the audience, have come to pass. So here we are in 2025, in the middle of the year, really moving toward the fall, and we've got a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. And according to leaked Pentagon documents, this has been the plan all the while. Indeed, the government anticipates civil unrest, and their way to quell it is to put the military on our streets. Will that work? I'm going to talk about that. What about the Texas Democrats and gerrymandering all the way around? But they have sparked a conversation. Sure, they don't have the votes when they go back. No, will they have the votes? No, but they might not win this battle, but I think they've won the wider war. They're helping us to look at this push from Washington to overtake the states, which is something that David Daley, in his New York Times best-selling books, particularly Rat Eft, talked about. Then we are looking at Gaza. Oh my goodness, Gaza, 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 Gaza. Can you imagine? You don't have to imagine, it did happen. A whole crew of Al Jazeera journalists were wiped out purposefully by the IDF. They said, well, we really thought that they were Hamas. Everybody cannot be a Hamas, everybody. We've got a lot to talk about. Is Epstein still a factor? How does President Trump sustain his popularity? We got a
Mark, it's good to see you, man. You
Ukraine,
indeed.
Ukraine, all of these things. There's so many issues. You know what, guys? Since we went out and this, I told you this has been happening to me, I'm going to start again, okay? Give me, and when we go out, just don't say anything because I'm going to go on and get started in 15 seconds. In 15. And Dwight, I'm going to mute you just so that we can cut down on the background noise. And we're up in 5, 4, 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. We have got a lot to talk about today with this wonderful array of, well, the Santita Jackson radio family and YouTube family who, over the past few years, they've expressed some views that really might have disgruntled a few of you, confused others. But it turns out that a lot of what they have said has come to pass. President Trump, although he did not win in 2020, he never did go away. Now, Dwight McKee and David Gibbs said that he wasn't going to go away. What about Ukraine? Why is that the rub? Why are we still in the middle of that? And where is this all going? We're still talking about Ukraine all these years later. What about Gaza? They're killing journalists left and right, and they're starving people. And now the prime minister has announced that they will completely reoccupy Gaza. Was that the plan all along? Dwight McKee said so. The U.S. Census. Well, the president said that he wants to have a complete U.S. Census, and that is really to reapportion so that they can get more congressional seats. How's that going to work? As we're looking at the Texas Democrats, who really preceded this call by the president for a new census. What about Jeffrey Epstein? Who was he? Who is he? Does he still matter? There is so much that's on the table, and I want you to meet me on Blue Sky. santitajackson.bsky.social, santitajackson.bsky.social, at Santita J on X, at Santita J on X, Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. Please, please be my friend there, but it's the only place I can get friends. And then, of course, you're on the Santita Jackson YouTube channel. Follow Bernadette's example. Bernadette says, everybody like and share, like and share. More and more of you are doing that. I thank you for that. Please continue to do that. It helps us with the algorithm. At different points, we can get 1 million, 2, 3 million people, viewers, listeners in a week. But because we are so progressive, our algorithm does get suppressed. So if you would help us help you as we try to serve you. Please like and share the show. Like and share the show. Whatever you do, like and share the show. So let's get to it because we, of course, have been praying for, waiting for Dwight McKee. So excited that that the Lord is restoring his health and that he's with us today to talk about so much of what he foresaw, Dr. David Gibbs and attorney Mark Fancher. And so before we get to Dwight, Dr. David Gibbs, I know you were very, very excited about welcoming your dear friend and fellow troublemaker, Dwight McKee, back on the air. So what say you? Of course, you can give a shout out to Dwight McKee, but let me know what your thoughts are.
Well, first of all, yeah, welcome back, Dwight. It's good to see you again. Well, not see you, but at least hear you. I know you had some health challenges, and I'm glad you're at least back on your feet. I think that one of the problems we're facing is that Trump retains a certain mass base. As I mentioned before on the show, I think maybe even yesterday, his popularity, according to Real Clear Politics aggregation, is 46%. 46% of the public supports him, about the same number opposes him. And so, unfortunately, I think even the really authoritarian things he's doing now in Washington, which really are disturbing to me, I could see how they might. I don't think they're going to alienate his base because he's looking decisive, he's looking tough, he's taking action against crime, against the horrors of crime and so on, horrors of homelessness, and he's other people talk, he takes action. That's the image he's casting. I mean, it won't do anything positive to alleviate crime, certainly not in the long run, but it looks good. And so I don't really see he's going to lose any popular support on that account. I mean, I wish he would on that account just because what he's doing is so outrageous, but we live in the real world here. Again, the question is, what do you do about it? And I think we have to step back and realize that Trump has been more formidable than we expected. Nobody would have imagined in 2015 when he, took that, flight on the escalator and announced his candidacy, he'd dominate politics for the next 10 years. That's what he's done, and he's not finished yet. He's transformed American politics, so there's no going back to what it was before. He has been more capable than people expected, and everything the Democrats and the activist left have done to oppose him hasn't touched him, and if anything, it's made him stronger. And so I think what we need to do is reflect on how do we respond to Trumpism. And again, the response initially was that this was simply a case of resentful whites, and there's no doubt that's a big part of it. We have to accept now that the MAGA base is multiracial, all right, particularly among Hispanics, which is well over 40% voted for Trump. And if I'm not mistaken, even among among African Americans, especially young Black men, there is some support. Nowhere near a majority, but a sizable minority of young African American men did vote for Trump. And that's astonishing, given everything. And so we have to step back and ask, A, why is that? And B, what are the Democrats and the activists left? What is the opposition doing wrong? I've said this many times. One of the problems we do have, in my view, is there really is a kind of upper crust bias in the anti-Trump resistance movement and a certain condescension towards his voters. It's one thing to trash Trump. I have no problem with that. Say anything you want about Trump. Use any insult you wish. Do it against billionaires. Do it against generals. But really, I wince at the idea of insulting his supporters, people who work at Walmart or something on minimum wage. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, that's punching down. I'm just not a fan of that. I see it among my activist lefty friends. They are too much punching down.
Well, we are experiencing some technical difficulties, but we're going to keep on going as we really work to keep up our internet connection. Isn't this amazing? Dr. David Gibbs.
Oh, just again, I don't know what was lost, but
Well,
again,
he was speaking to.
Sorry, Santita, I'm not hearing you.
He was speaking to. Okay, I was trying to pick up where you were because we had a slight disconnection here. We're looking. You've been talking about this multiracial band of support that President Trump has been able to build. Did you foresee that?
Did I foresee that?
Yes. Has this caught you by surprise?
I not really, no. I mean, I think that Trump's support is partly about, there's no doubt there's an element of racism, and there's no question about that. There's also an element of, well, there are a number of things here. One of them is class. I think there's an element that the dominant culture embodied in the media and the universities where I come from, the Democratic establishment, the foreign policy establishment, and the activist left, there's an element of snobbery, right? An element of condescension, that these people without college degrees of all races are just too dumb and too ignorant and too this and too that, and that we should look our noses down at them. And it comes as no surprise to me they've returned the compliment by voting for Trump. All right, that's what I expect them to do. Why wouldn't they do that? And so I think basically all of my lefty friends who keep emailing me about this need to step back and ask, what have they done to help enable Trump? What have they done to create Trump, to enable his reelection, to keep him popular? A lot of the snobbery we're seeing is having blowback, and Trump is that blowback. I think really we need to really reflect on how the opposition to Trump has helped fuel Trumpism. And there are other concrete things we've done too. I mean, I've noted before how all the indictments against Trump, they overdid that. All right, they overdid the indictments, and it empowered Trump. It made him look like the victim. The impeachments against Trump didn't do anything to weaken Trump. Didn't lay a glove on him. All right, it empowered him. And so I think basically the Trump's opposition needs to ask, before they ask what is Trump doing wrong, I think they need to ask, which is obvious, I think, they just what are they doing wrong that are making Trump more popular? And they need to do that before they pour into the streets in Washington and start opposing. Because I think there's a real risk that in opposing Trump, it can make him more popular, just as we have done again and again in the past. That's the fear I have.
Dwight McKee?
Your question is?
The question is, do you agree with him? Because you did say that this pushback against President Trump would make him stronger. You did say that he was going to begin to get more votes from the Hispanic community, from the Black community, particularly from Black men. You said that people pushed back on you. What happened?
Well, what I did say was that if you try to electrocute Godzilla and you don't kill him, then you don't electrocute him, you electrify him. And he's only gets stronger. Now he's a monster breathing fire. And my fear of all of that all those contrived issues, was that they would turn what I said then was a monster into a martyr, which is what happened. I'm not sure otherwise he would have won. It indicated a fear and a lack of strategy on the Democratic part that he was able to capitalize on. And the Republicans have been able to capitalize on since then and use as a pretext to dismantle the government. I agree with everything Dr. Gibbs said, pretty much. that they are, which we also talked about, that there was going to be a price to pay, that retribution was on its way. And whoever jumped on that bandwagon, whoever jumped into that wind, was going to be a victim of the whirlwind. And that's again what we're also seeing. We're seeing Trump relying these guys, his quote unquote, his own enemies list, and have basically amounts to symbolic firing squads, whether it's the media, whether it's commentators, whether it's artists, whoever goes against him, there's a price to be paid. Part of this, you all, is racism. But part of this is this perverted sense of entitlement of America being such a peculiar people that God has given them the option to take anything they decide to take because they see themselves as the chosen ones. Even in some cases, more than a lot of religious interest. They see themselves, America, United States of America, as the new Jerusalem. And we are chosen to take whatever we want from whoever we want, no questions asked. And if you're outside of that purview, you suffer.
Mark Fancher, what say you?
Well, I think that, getting back to the question of why he continues to enjoy broad support, even among some segments of communities of color, um, it's all grounded in a very strong foundation of hatred. That's really the fuel that drives so much of this. For white workers, he is playing to their fears of the growing, what they perceive to be the growing impact and status of communities of color. He is the champion of the white worker in their eyes. It doesn't matter about his own problems and his own liabilities and immorality and incompetence and foolishness. He's standing firm for white people. And that is a big driver of much of the support that he enjoys. For others, for communities of color, and I don't know that there's really that much support for him in communities of color, but to the extent that there is, I think he has become something of a Rorschach test for them. They want to hate too. They've developed their own people that they hate. They're xenophobic in some cases. They don't like people who are coming from other countries, taking the few scraps that are left for working people. At least that's their perception. They don't even like people of color. There are black people who don't like uh, immigrants from black countries because they perceive that they're encroaching, that they're taking something that rightfully belongs to people who whose ancestors were here and who have helped to build the country. So they figure that if Trump is all about hatred and division, that if they hate too, particularly if they hate some of the same people that Trump supporters hate, that somehow they will be welcomed into the MAGA circle, or at least they'll get some of the benefits. Boy, are they in for a rude surprise. But I think that's part of it, and I think that some of them have been surprised, and they have begun to reject Trump and Trumpism. But I think that what's been most interesting is the reaction of the major corporations who have traditionally and historically been the ones who have really dominated the politics and the economics of America. They have not only dominated the politics and the economics of America, they have an imperial machine, which works in hand in glove with the military to try and lock down and dominate the planet. And imperialism has always had an agenda, a method for approaching the domination of the world. And it has manifested in such things as support for Zionism and for the state of Israel, not for purposes of focusing on that little piece of real estate called Gaza, but for purposes of having it there as a staging ground for the potential domination of the entire Middle Eastern region, which has lots of oil that they want, and which would serve as a way of strategically of balancing out the influence that Russia has throughout the region, and just strategically just being a good place to be. They have also made moves uh, toward actually taking Russia, and Ukraine was a critical part of that. That they were inching their way toward Russia's border, and Putin saw that that's what was happening, and took a preemptive step toward trying to stop them dead in their tracks and to go on the attack against Ukraine. When Trump enters the scene, he's not really so much a part of all of that. And I think that the traditional imperialist had probably counted on being able to uh, knock him back into line if he chose to to go rogue or to do things that were contrary to what the imperial will was. What they probably did not count on is the fact that Trump is no respecter of convention or of laws, and that he operates gangster style. If they try and push him, then he not only pushes back, but is not afraid to break all kinds of laws in order to do that. And not only does he break the laws to accomplish his agenda, but he also has sort of a Machiavellian approach, a very shrewd one, to putting even the most powerful corporations on the defensive, because he's willing to do illegal things to really threaten their potential for maintaining their operations and for continuing to make profits. So he's destabilized them, at least for the moment. And he is engaged in his mad rampage, toward consolidating the dictatorship, which I think that he already has. And so I think it really comes down to a question of how do you deal with someone like that. We're not corporations, and we really don't want an imperial agenda. We're not MAGA people, and we are not all about hating people and dividing people. We are people who are people of goodwill. Many of us are people of faith. Many of us are people who have a vision for not just this country, but for this world, which is a progressive one, one that is enlightened, one that is focused on trying to really bring about a new reality. And the way that we continue to move forward is not to try and take Trump on by confronting him. He's ready for that. And to the extent that he's not ready, he's getting more ready by militarizing the cities, by having the National Guard on the ready to put down demonstrations and things that happen in the street. He's prepared. That to fight him on that level is to fall right into his trap. What we have to do is to do what Jesus did, and that is to, when confronted by powerful forces, and Jesus was confronted by, a religious elite and by the Roman Empire, is just to withdraw from them. We will not take the bait. We will not go into the streets, but what we will do is we will continue to very quietly build community among people of goodwill in this country, looking at what we can do in terms of our existing resources to meet the needs of people who are in need, to build goodwill, among communities, and to expand that community globally. To not only look to the people of the United States, but for all of those people who are fighting to get across the border, they're our friends, they're our allies, and we're going to meet them where they are. Uh, for those who are in other countries, many of them have been designated as enemies of the US, they are our friends. You know, whether it's Cuba or Venezuela, the countries in Africa, certainly the Palestinians, all of those people, those are people that we're going to build a global community with. And through the sheer power of unity, organization, commitment to something that's an ideal, ultimately Trump gets frozen out. And if even he chooses to try and react in ways which are strong armed and militaristic, even that won't go very far for a whole host of reasons, which we really don't have the time to get into. But I think that's really the only way forward.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Gibbs. I know you don't. Your time with us is short today. I mean, you spoke of authoritarianism. I mean, and we're seeing that with Texas. That's like a through line for us in America today. We were looking at the Texas Democrats, who, although they don't have the votes, they have sparked the discussion about this Republican flex, and I would say this right wing flex. I mean, because quite frankly, gerrymandering is something that both parties do, and I think it's abhorrent. Period, because the people lose out. The parties are playing with each other, but the people's policies are not. The people's needs are not being. They're not being responded to in terms of policy. While these people at the top played all of these games, but what do you make of the federal takeover of Washington, D.C.? I mean, symbolically and actually. I mean, now this cultural takeover. I mean, it's just, you know, looking at going through the museums,
Yeah.
particularly the African American Museum. What are they going to do? Eliminate slavery? I mean, just what? No, I mean, because they would try to sanitize. There's no way you can sanitize slavery, and they would not do that at the Holocaust Museum. I know they wouldn't do that.
This
But
is a long,
history, that's what they're doing.
long-standing technique is using culture wars as a wedge issue, a way of dividing people. I think ultimately distracting people. I think the people who really benefit from this the most, the people who love it, it's the gift that doesn't keep on, that just keeps giving, is to the very wealthy who I think have always stoked these things. You know, you can go back. It really does go back to Nixon, the culture wars. He was the ultimate culture warrior, and he did it in the most Machiavellian way possible. Um, and you know, he was the representative of the silent majority that was against things like you know, from the era of the late '60s, early '70s, you know, things like long hair on males and I don't know, feminism, abortion rights, homosexuality, things like that, nudity in films, all these quote unquote immoral things um, that were very easy ways for him to develop popularity and also to draw attention away from what he was actually doing. And you know, this has been a playbook for the Republican Party for a long time. I have to say, I think the Democrats have responded to it very badly. I think that they've often adopted positions that are inherently unpopular. The extraordinary emphasis they put upon, well, I don't know, complicated language, fussing about pronouns, things like that. Extraordinary attention and political capital given to fussing about pronouns is amazing. And that's a gift to the Republican Party. And I think that, again, the main winners of this have always been the billionaire class who've used this to divide people. And really, Trump is sort of the ultimate culture warrior, I suppose, but he's building upon a long-standing tradition that's been going on for decades. So in a sense, this is not really new. It's just reached a new level.
You know, is there anything you'd like to say before you do run? Because I hate that you're having to leave us, but I respect that, and I'm so glad that you were able to be on with Dwight, if only for a little while. It means so much, Dr. Gibbs.
Well, again, I just hope that in responding to Trump, we have to figure out how to oppose this creep and how to basically make him unpopular. But the key focus should be on making him unpopular, making the case to the public that he's unpopular, and just reacting in a sort of knee-jerk fashion, as we've done for 10 years. risks making him more popular. And this has happened again and again. Dwight McGee has made the point, and he's quite right, that a lot of what has been done here has made Trump more popular. Um, and so we need to really sit down and not have a hot head and not just think that anything we do to oppose Trump is good, because it can backfire and has backfired in the past. And so I think what we need to do is figure out that 46% that supports him, many of whom are working class. How do we win over that 46% and convince them that Trump is not the answer to their problems? And I think we need to, in a lot of ways, it shouldn't be that complicated. It shouldn't be that difficult to make the case. But I think to do so, first of all, we have to stop hating Trump voters. That's a big problem, the hating of Trump voters. Again, I see that all the time. Open expressions of hatred of Trump voters. And when people do that, I'm just thinking, what are you thinking? That's only going to make Trump more popular. That's one of the reasons people vote for Trump, is they don't like the condescension, the class condescension. It just doesn't work. And so keeping a cool head, I think, is the first way to go. And ultimately just trying to be effective rather than performative and feeling good about ourselves is the best way, I think, to oppose Trump at this point. But anyway, it's been great being on with all of you, and especially good to see you again, Dwight McGee. And have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Sending
All
you
right,
much
Dave.
love. Dwight McKee, one of the things that we've learned from growing up in Chicago, Mark Fancher, with Mayor Daley, my parents said, one of the great lessons that they learned in having to thrive with and fight with Mayor Richard Daley was rule number one: never call your opposition's name. Because ultimately, it's really not even about them as much as it is about the principles. It's not about the person. Because the fact is, you've got J.D. Vance, you've got Peter Thiel, you've got Elon Musk. I mean, you got some young people who are even, I would say, who are even more extreme. I mean, there is a thought process here. There's a technocracy at work. You got the Silicon Valley and these. You got Palantir that's taking care of everything. They don't need a Jeffrey Epstein anymore because they know everything that you do. We're so surveilled now. And so my question for you is, then, is Trump the point, or what is he speaking to? I mean, what does this say about the moment in which we find ourselves, Dwight? Dwight? Okay, well, Mark Fancher, well, we lost Dwight, but we'll get him back. Mark Fancher, what does this say to you about this? And let me say to Heather Brazel Hill, and she said, you're a Black conservative. I'm so glad that you tuned in, and you're running for governor in Ohio. I promise you, I'm going to get to you. Just let me work through a few things, and my team is going to get to you, and we are going to talk, within the next couple of days. Is that okay, Heather? I don't want you to think that I was ignoring you, because I'm not. And hey, Ethelene, you said you're a Trump voter and you couldn't care less about the name calling. It does nothing to change your vote or the fact that you stand firm and knowledgeable in it. I mean, I hear you. I mean, because I've not done the name calling here, because I'm not with it. I want to know why people are doing what they do, because the fact is, Mark, at the end of the day, the policies that are in place, that have been put in place by both parties, are not speaking to the pain of the people, Mark. I was on my way, I was out rather early today, and I saw a food line that was at least 2 blocks long. I mean, and it's not like it was, the food was coming from some fancy place. In fact, they were in a vacant lot here on the south side of Chicago. But people were standing out there in, it's a comfortable day, but it is hot, looking, just trying to get some food, trying to get something. And, we cannot assume that if once you get the bag of food that you have gas or even electricity so that you can cook it when you get home. I mean, the misery index is rising. And while people are arguing over parties, the people are suffering more and more and more and more.
Yeah, and see, that's the big problem with the widespread orientation toward the political system that we have. People look at the current administration and say, that's the Republican Party, and they're doing that. So therefore, we must default to the Democratic Party to fight them. And if the Democratic Party wins, then we'll be able to accomplish some things. It's never been that way. Both parties have the exact same agenda, except on very narrow range of issues involving social issues like birth, death, sex, marriage. But otherwise, when you look at the economy, they both want to pursue an economy that in the exact same way. When you look at foreign policy, they have the same foreign policy. If you want to look at use of the military, they want to use the military in exactly the same way. And it's all for the benefit of an elite group. Uh, the, 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 the country itself was structured initially to be for and by a small group of white men with property. Everybody else had to suffer for the benefit of this small group. Over the years, it has evolved into a country which has been one that's been by and for major multinational corporations, and workers and poor people have had to suffer for their benefit. It is one now which still is structured in that way, but which has been taken a little bit off course by an individual who was not content to look after the interests of an oligarchy, but to himself become a one man dictator, which has made things even a little bit more interesting. But when all is said and done, these structures which have been put in place to preserve power for the few and misery for the many is one that just needs to be destroyed. And when we talk about really trying to address the problems of people, everyday people, working people, communities of color, immigrants, and others, what we have to talk about in a very serious way is revolution. That's really the only answer to this. The capitalist system, by its very design, is one which ensures uh, the uneven distribution of wealth. Even though,
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Because now we've got two major American cities that have Democratic Socialists as their mayoral nominees, right? We are coming up on the 250th year of the existence of the Republic. And empires collapse at 250 years, right? That's so it seems that and when you're talking to young people, and I know you've got one yourself. Yeah, I mean, I've got nieces and nephews. Several of them have come out of college over the past 2, 3 years, and godchildren. So I'm getting plugged into these young folks. They are not partisan at all. They they look at us and they're like, look, I'm done with this. What I need, I don't care how you label yourself. I care how you package yourself. That is to say, what are you going to deliver to people? That's what they are looking at. Period. They're not looking to join a party. They're looking for leaders. They're looking for elected officials to follow them.
yeah.
It seems like something has shaken up in here, Mark Venture.
Well, it is the natural course of history. People don't unlearn things. Uh, People don't stay in the same place in terms of their political development or their understanding of the world. I know that Kwame Ture used to tell this little anecdote where he would say that he would be approached by somebody of his generation, and he would groan and moan about these young people. He would say, "Well, they're not like you and me, Stokely. I mean, we were ready to throw down, and now these young people, a lot of them don't even know about Malcolm X. A lot of them don't know this. They don't know that. They're not as revolutionary as we were." And his response was, "No, they're more revolutionary." He says, because our generation, when we were teenagers, when we got on the bus and they told us to go sit in the back of the bus, we went and we sat on the back of the bus. He said, you just try and tell some of these young people to sit on the back of the bus. They will not do it. They absolutely will not do it. So the more that people learn, they don't unlearn it. They become more sophisticated. The same tricks and maneuvers that were used to divide and repress people that the FBI used for COINTELPRO, people are wise to that now. Many of them won't go for that. They understand. They're suspicious. They're suspicious of the CIA. They're suspicious of major corporations. They're suspicious of many of the forces which at one time were dominant in terms of their ability to control and manipulate us. So there is an inevitable movement. And one of the things that's also missing now is during the Cold War, it was easy to keep people in the capitalist camp because they created this boogeyman that the communists are coming to get us. They're going to turn us all into slaves. They're going to do this. They're going to dominate. The communists are bad. The communists are bad. That was driven into people's heads. And so it wasn't so much support for capitalism as it was fear of this encroaching red menace that was trying to take over the world. And that is one of the things that I think is missing now, and which has allowed people to become a little bit more free in terms of their thinking and in their analysis. They are more willing to look at possibilities, and when they see the corporate crimes, when they see the things that happen, then that they're willing to say, well, this capitalism thing isn't so great. I mean, even in my own life, I know that when I was in college and law school or whatever, I was a socialist then, of course, but that was the sort of thing I felt like I had to whisper a little bit, because I just didn't necessarily want all the time to have to deal with the vitriol and the hatred that would come my way. Now, anywhere you go, you can openly say, yes, I'm a socialist, and people just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, okay, so what else about you? And it represents growth and change, which is why I think that it's that revolution is a real possibility. I
Well,
think.
Stephen just said that he just admitted to being a commie. He said that a few minutes ago. But if I may interrupt you here,
Sure.
Stephen, he did not admit to that. But what we are saying, what I will say is this: um, in America, that's not illegal. You are. We're supposed to be free enough to be whomever we want to be. And so and during the Great Depression, you had a thriving communist party, socialist party, all of these, a lot of competing ideas because people felt that the system was so unfair. I mean, and wealth inequality is the gap is so wide. It's so huge now. This is not working out for people. You know, a socialist program is Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And guess what? Wall Street is socialist when they go broke or when they're in trouble. They're just capitalist when they're making profits. So just let's get over all of that. I mean, really, because that's really because whatever Marx's philosophy is, it is his philosophy to hold and to live with and to nurture and to change his mind should he do that. You
And
know, and you say communism has never worked. I mean, I hear you, but you
well,
know,
that's an important point, though,
okay,
Santita, and
please,
I'd really like to deal with that.
please.
You know, I'm socialist and proud. I
Mhm.
mean, don't the fact I admitted it as though I admitted a crime. No, only an intelligent person is a socialist. And if you say that being a socialist is a problem, you don't like Jesus either. Because if you look at how the first Christians lived right after he ascended, they formed the very first socialist state. And if you don't believe me, go read Acts, the book of Acts, and how they dealt with the economy of thousands of people. what they did with their money. They all contributed it to a common pot. They only could get back what they needed in order to meet their needs. And that's how they ensured that there were no poor people among them. If it was good enough for Jesus and his followers, it is good enough for me. But when people frequently make the point, they always say, well, socialism has never worked anywhere. There's a reason for that. That's because there's a dialectical relationship between capitalism and socialism. The two cannot coexist. One must come to dominate the other. They're incompatible systems. And so whenever there has been a country anywhere that has attempted to go down the socialist road, the capitalist world has always made it a high priority to destroy it. Because if it succeeds, then it will only encourage other people to do it. The best example of that is Cuba. Cuba is a very poor country, but you also have to recognize that this little tiny poor country is one which has been able, in spite of the war that has been waged against it relentlessly by the United States, it's been able to educate its people, it's been able to clothe its people, it's been able to feed its people, it's been able to provide for them in ways that have resulted in the critical health factors being better than in the United States. When you talk about infant mortality, access to health care, and all of those kinds of things. And they have done that even in the face of long-standing embargoes and isolation and efforts that have been made to destroy it. And the reason that they've tried to destroy it is they know that if it were able to, with all that it has been able to done, even with all of that pressure that's been put on it, if it were able to do what it is able to do, what it has the potential to do, then it would be ball game. Everybody would want to do that. And so, we have to understand, because it has not been able to succeed wildly in different places, that's not because of an inherent failure of the idea. It is because there is a war between the two systems. And so, look, I'm ready.
Well, but I would say this. I wouldn't say that I'm a socialist. That having been said, I think that I believe in having a free and open marketplace for ideas. Because the fact is, we have a mixed system. That's just the reality. When you go to England, they're not socialist at the top, but they're socialist at the bottom. That is to say, they've had to, that's a socialist country. It is on many different levels, except for those when you get to the top. Um, the top 1% still own all the land. You can own your house, but you can't own any land over in the UK. I mean, it's all of that. But we ought to be able to have some discussions about what all of these systems are when they're in their pure form or when they're in their mixed form. They called FDR uh, a traitor to his class, Mark Fancher, because he essentially did socialize a lot of America. He put a cap on how much money you could make because the robber barons had taken everything. I don't know how many people love The Gilded Age, the show on HBO. I love it. But you see, these people came in and they were just rapacious. They were taking everything. Ethelene asked, why does the Democratic Party go so hard against socialist progressive candidates? It's like they eat their own. They do. And Republicans do. And Republicans, they make
I answer that?
Oh, please. Sure.
Yeah. No, there is a reason, because they're not their own. We have to accept the fact that the Democratic Party is a capitalist party, just like the Republican Party. They're the same thing. And so socialists who organize under a Democratic label are disowned by the Democrats because they stand fundamentally against what the Democratic Party is for, which is capitalism. So
progressives. I mean, I know it because that's what they did to Reverend, and Reverend would never characterize himself as a socialist, but certainly as a progressive, because that is not what they are. But let me just make this very clear, and Mark, I have to do this all the time because people keep saying Reverend built the Democratic Party. No, that was a byproduct of his run for the presidency. What was he going to do? Run as a Republican in the 80s? No. The fact is, Black people have been cut out of, and progressives, basic people have been cut out of, we were on the menu. We didn't have a seat at the table. Now he has done his work. He got you in the door, got you at the table, and all that. Now we have another. There's another phase of this struggle. Number one, now y'all gonna be fair? Is that what we're going to do? I mean, because that's what I want to know now, Mark. Because we've had black faces in high places. We've had women, and some of these women have been more what when black folks have been more inclined to war than anybody. I didn't sign up for that, Mark. So my question is, okay, now that they will at least cosmetically change things. Are we going to change things in terms of our character? Do you not want to have create a floor beneath which no human being should fall? See, that's the question. Those are the questions that I want to have us answer now, Mark. Because you can put any label on it you want. I don't think you should end WIC and SNAP and Medicare and Medicaid. I think you should not be ending public schools. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to wipe all that out. Now you can label that, you can put any label on that you want to. I think that everybody has a right to be educated. Everyone has a right to health care, the best health care. Everybody has a right to affordable, decent housing. Everybody has a right to that. Now, that got Dr. King called a communist. They wondered if Reverend was a socialist. I mean, it just doesn't stop. And, and now to me, the basics of life, Mark, people see them, they don't see them as your right. They see them as privileges. And maybe that's part of the real problem that we have here, that some people deserve and other people do not.
Yeah. And capitalists lie all the time. I mean, they will tell you that you're not because they want to make money off of everything. They want to privatize everything so that they can make money off of it. Things that should be ours by right. That they want to put a price tag on it so that they can use it to make more money. And we shouldn't be surprised by it. I mean, there are many aspects of our current reality that are socialist in concept. Public education, postal service, fire and police protection, all of
Public
these things,
libraries.
Sure. I mean, there are all of these things that that are just functions of government because the society recognizes that everybody has to have that. We have to have it. We can't just let houses burn down. We can't just let crime run rampant. We can't deprive people of an opportunity to get the most basic kind of an education. But if capitalists were left to their own devices and they could figure out a way to make us pay for those things, outright and put that money in the hands of private corporations, they would do it.
That's who's running the government now. And then they talk you into voting against and thinking against your own interests. You're weak if you say no one should starve. You're weak if you say everyone should be able to go to the hospital. No one should be denied health care. Everyone has a right to an education and not go broke. You go broke trying to get educated. You go broke trying to be healthy. And then you proudly call yourself, well, that's the American way. No, that is not the way that we're supposed to be. That's not right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying, Bernie Sanders, Stephen, bless your heart, and I'm so glad this is the second day that I've seen you here. Stephen, Bernie Sanders is the most popular elected official in the United States. You need to ask why. He is bringing people who voted for him and people who voted for Trump to his rallies. And they're standing room only from coast to coast, Mark. From coast to coast. Why do you think that is, Mark? I was trying to get Dwight up, but you're not clicking in, Dwight. You're gonna have to, whatever it is that you need to do so we can get some closing thoughts from you. But why do you think that Bernie Sanders is resonating, is resonating so deeply with Americans?
Because he's speaking to what we all know is what the society needs. There's such great confusion about socialism because so many lies have been told about it. You know, the fact is that socialism doesn't necessarily contemplate that you're going to take away some of the things that people cherish, like the opportunity to become an entrepreneur. You can start a business within a socialist society. What we're talking about is making sure that people have access to the things that belong to the people. Water belongs to the people. Everybody should have it. Oil belongs to the people. Everybody should have it. You know, natural gas belongs to the people. Everybody should have it. Education belongs to the people. Even higher education, university level education, belongs to the people, and they should have it. There are some things which just belong to the people, and we should, but capitalists want to take control of some of those things because they know that they can exploit them and make lots of money on it. And that's something where that's where the line is drawn. Things that belong to the society, to the people, which are gifts from God. You know, no capitalist invented oil. No capitalist invented water. No capitalist invented any of these things that they commodify and turn into products that they make money from. And so all that socialists want to do is to take God's gifts back. He put them here for all of us to have at no charge. We just want to take those things back and let the people have them.
Well,
And in the process, eliminate a lot of misery.
and that's the point, because capitalists capitalize, and that is, I mean, at your expense. I mean, so I don't know why we're making an argument for people who are hurting us. They want to. Social Security works. They've not missed checks in 90 years. But they created a backdoor in this big beautiful bill to privatize it. They want to privatize it because they want to capitalize on it. That's what the capitalists want to do. And they want to take it to Wall Street so they can tell you one day that there's no money left. Dwight, Mickey, have a couple of minutes left here, literally two. What say you? Dwight, you there? Well, I was trying to bring him on, but Mark, I tell you, I think that one day we will have that discussion about these different approaches to government, because I think that that's into our governance, because I think you've got in New York City a Democratic socialist who's poised to become mayor. Now, mind you, you will have different iterations of Mr. Mamdani as he becomes mayor, because that's what happens when you win. Things do change. I get it, but the people will have to push to keep him true to a lot of the things that they elected him for. The fact is, he resonated with the people. They did not care that he is a self-described Democratic socialist. They don't care. They don't care if in Minneapolis, St. Paul. They don't care. They care that when he said, you know what, people ought to be able to get on the bus and get to work. I'm going to come up with some grocery stores that are affordable, that will give you the best food possible. And we're going to subsidize those like we subsidize Wall Street. We're going to make housing affordable in New York City. Yeah. And I don't mean just an apartment with a tub in the kitchen. I lived in New York. Wait a minute. And I had to look for an apartment. And oh my gosh, Mark, some of the places that 30 plus years ago, they wanted me to pay thousands of dollars a month for. I was like, are you serious? I've got a bathtub in the kitchen, and the man who owned the building looked at me and shrugged. Called my father. I said, oh my gosh, I didn't know. This is crazy. Now, fortunately, I was able to get a really great place that was rent stabilized. But guess what? You had to be connected to get in. Did you see, what is it, The Godfather? What is it? Godfather of Harlem? That show with, wonderful show with Forrest Whitaker. And it was set in, he had an apartment in Lenox Terrace. That's where I lived. Now, the apartments were not as nice unless you really, really hooked them up. But I'm just saying, must you be connected to get a nice place when you're working hard every day? That's not fair. That's not what we ought to be here. That we ought we ought to want more for ourselves than that. Mark, I literally have a minute for you. What do you want us to know? State of the world, state of America, 2025.
No, I think that there's some very basic fundamental things that we just have to keep in mind as we navigate our way through and that is that God gave us what we need in order for us to live very peaceful, prosperous, and love-filled lives. Uh, it just we just refuse to do it, and it involves us being selfless. It means for us to share. It means for us to love, and to make sure that we care for the least of these. If we're caring for those who have the least, who are the most marginalized, then all of us are going to prosper. There should be no poor among us. We should all not be wanting for love. We should live in community, and we should promote the best that we are rather than doing what the current administration is intent on doing, which is to make us become comfortable with being hateful and exclusive and just overall mean spirited. We're better. We can be better. We will be better. We just have to remember who we are as people.
Yeah, that's my grandmother Gertrude used to say. There's one way, the right way. We need to be better. We need to, more than that, we need to be right. Period. You're supposed to love. It's not a suggestion, it's a commandment. Everyone should be able to eat. There's enough in this world. My pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, said, I've never seen God make a mouth that God couldn't feed. Think about that, everybody, as we're watching children starve in Gaza and in Sudan, and adults, and in the Mississippi Delta, and in inner city America, and in rural America. That's just a shame. Come on, everybody. Let's get right. Let's get right. I am Santita Jackson. It's been so great having you on, Attorney Mark Fancher. We got Dwight McKee in the chat. I'm so glad that he's down there, and so glad that God is continuing to lift him up and make him well. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm Santita Jackson. God bless everybody. I'm still up. Hey, everybody. Stephen Blursh, I'm so glad that you're with us. All I ask is that as you join the chat, and it's not just you, Stephen, it's anyone, let's be kind to each other. We don't have to be so, I don't mind being aggressive, but I certainly believe you need to be kind. You know, there's a wonderful song, What If God Was One of Us? Just a slop like one of us, just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. You know, social media has given people the space to say whatever it is that they want to say to people because your face isn't there and because people can't find you. Be of good courage. Be very clear. Act as if you are standing before someone looking them eyeball to eyeball. Because when that happens, there's some things you just don't say. And there's a way that you speak to each other. So let's be kind. Let's be kind. Not accusatory, not nasty, not mean. Let's be kind. I don't mind a healthy disagreement here. What I do mind is vitriol and anger. That's something, I mean, now we allow curse words just in normal chat, Mark, on television because the president has said it, and therefore now everybody can say, can make profane words public. I mean, and say them publicly, not utter them, say them. Stop. And words can be profane, but so can treatment. So don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And I want you to be here. Just as for some reason, I'm so glad that this young woman, she said, I'm a Black conservative, Heather Brazell Hill. She is running for governor in Ohio. And I'm glad that you, for some reason, you come in and Ethelene, I don't know where you are politically, but you said that you voted for President Trump. Ethelene, I'm glad that you all are here. And I want you to be here. But I want everybody, wherever you are ideologically, be kind. And be clear that, as my father said, we came over here on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. You could get in that food line too. Most of us are but a half a paycheck away, a payday away from facing eviction, missing payments on your cars, on your homes, on your credit cards, whatever it is. And we need to be looking at ways to get out of this mess because some people are making more money than ever before. A lot of them are. And they're talking about wiping out a whole people so they can build a resort community and take over the oil. That's what's happening in Gaza. This mad rush for Africa is because it's the richest continent on earth. That ought to concern you. So let's have some civil conversations here. And let's figure out what we're going to do with the Republic. Yeah. Because it's a very different world. It's a very different world. Manifest destiny, you're not going to just roll upon people anymore. That's not going to work. So come on, everybody. Let's be kind. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. Be kind. Let's be kind to each other. If someone says that they have experienced racism, respect that, honor that, ask them about it. Don't attack them for it. Racism is real. Black people are the only people who were racialized into being 3/5 of human beings, and they were only speaking of the men. We're the only people that happened to. We're the only people who cannot pass into whiteness. That's real. What's also real is that white people, well, this system was not built to help you either, and you're about to see that. And that does not make me feel good, but maybe that'll help you to help us, help all of us, and get right. Racism is not exclusive to the Democratic Party. Everybody's played the game, and everybody needs to stop it, including you, Stephen. Just stop. Stop looking at the racism in the Democratic Party and you don't call out the Republicans on their racism. Just enough. Racism and all forms of classism need to go. All of it. Because nobody's less than. Everybody is somebody in the eyes of God. Start there. So everybody, I love you. Attorney Mark Fancher, I love you. Dwight McKee, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you, Stephen. I love you, Daryl. I love you, Lorraine. I love you, Miss Wanda. I love everybody. I love everybody here. Thank you for tuning in with us and continue to keep Dwight lifted up in prayer. God is a miracle worker. God continues to strengthen him and bring him back from day to day. I told him his work is not over, Attorney Mark Fancher. I said, you have there's too much genius, too much for you to shut your eyes now. If God did not have something else for you to do, Dwight, you would not be here. And everybody is so thrilled that you are here today. And so I just want you to know we love you, and we're continuing to pray for you, and we can't wait for you to come back. How about that? And I'm going to send a special love to my friend, Judge Frank Caprio. Many of you might have seen the show Caught in Providence. You see probably the most compassionate judge you've ever seen in your life. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, look it up. They've got more than 1 billion views on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. He's been battling cancer. I just spoke with him just before I came on the air. He and his family are among the dearest people to me in the world. And I would just like for you to send a special prayer up for that family today. They're just wonderful, wonderful human beings. And if you look at his show, whenever you see Caught in Providence, you see, I'm glad you've seen it, Lorraine. Whenever you see the show, you see a man who has done very well in his life, and all of his children have. But he's never forgotten the pain of his parents and foreparents being at the bottom. So please send love and prayers up to Judge Frank Caprio, my beloved friend, and someone who's been like a father. And I just want to send him some love today and send that whole family, my beloved David and all of them, his beautiful wife Joyce, my beloved mother Joyce, and everybody. Johnny and Frank and oh my goodness, all of them. They're all my people up there in Rhode Island. So I'm loving you, everybody. I love you, my brother Mark Fancher. I love you, Dwight McKee. I love all y'all. I love all y'all. God bless you. Have a great
So,
one.
Santita, really quickly.
And then we're still rolling, but I'll.
Oh no, you can turn.